Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following confession that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our dear sisters. The message, when she sent it to me, she said that please, you can just remove some of the parts because it is a sensitive confession. And she was saying that the father used to have a lot of political connections, like the former president of Zim, and I was really scared to read some of it in Shona, but let me try to give you the narration. This political confessions, they are really scary sometimes to read. So the message that she sent to me reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? My brother, there was a time when my father was like a rich man. He was untouchable, and he claimed that he had so many political connections, and indeed he had political connections. There was even a time when there were roads that were being built when the former president was still alive, before the second government had came into power. My father, he was given a very big contract, my brother, where there was a road that was being built. He was making a lot of money. So even though my father made his money from being connected to the political elite of our country, but there was a point in his life after the second government had came into power that the well that he was getting this wealth from, it then ran dry. Even his friends that were connected to the former president, they all started to suffer. Then my brother suddenly... But as for my father, even though you could see that he is no longer that rich man, but whenever me and my husband, when we return back home from South Africa, my father, he stays in the most richest suburbs that can be found in our country. You will just see that indeed my father is no longer that wealthy like he used to be. But the strange things that happen at our father's house is that sometimes you can just be chilling, my brother, then you will see that on top of the roof there will be a plastic bag that will just appear out of nowhere. This plastic bag, it will start to roll over, then it will fall to the ground. When my father will pick it up, you will see that this plastic bag, it will be full of brand new US dollar banknotes. My father does not even explain where this money comes from. He just says that I keep it up there. Do you think that this is normal for someone to store his money, large amounts of money, on top of his roof? This is not normal at all. Some people do not understand my father. They still think that since he used to be politically connected, that is how he made his money. But as his children, we know that my father, even though he had so many political connections, but at the end of the day, he was a ritualist because of the things that he did to me and the things that he did to my sisters as well. I am here to share with you my own story. And the problem that I face with my husband is that we try to go around to different prophets. We have visited like your very popular prophets that can be found in our country. But the moment that I tell the prophet like my surname, then the person will be like, you are the daughter to Mr. such and such. Then if I say yes, then that person that will be helping me will start to give me other prophecies that you can see that this man, he is afraid to assist me. And my father, it seems as if even in the spiritual world, my father, he has so much power because there are so many prophets. When we approach them, then they will be scared to mention even my father's name, because even in our church, the White Garment Church that we go to, he is a bishop, and it pains me a lot because in our church, he has so much power, but the people do not know that these are the evil things that he did to his own daughters. My father has done a lot of terrible stuff. Like at that time when we were still very young, my father then called me one day. This was like when I was on my first period. So I always wondered as to why whenever you start to see your first period, my father and my mom, then they will call you into their main bedroom, because like my mom was the first wife and my father, he had many wives, but in my mother's bedroom there was no one who was allowed there. Even as her children, we were not even allowed to enter into that bedroom, but you will be called all of a sudden. And it happened to me the first day when I saw my first period. I was called into that bedroom, and when I arrived in that bedroom, to my surprise, I then saw that even my father, he was just there, Brother Nashi, he was there and he was waiting for me with my mom. Then my father gave me some directions and he told me that I was supposed to go and lie on top of the bed. So I went and I then slept on top of my mom's bed, and then my father took an egg and he started to force this egg into my private parts. I got so scared because I thought that maybe this egg, it was going to get broken and it was going to damage my private parts. But this egg, after my father had finished pushing it inside my private parts, it suddenly disappeared. Even when I walked out of my father's bedroom, that egg, my brother, when I tried to feel for that egg, I could not even feel anything, as if it had just disappeared all of a sudden. The other thing that he did to me is that my father, he has this other fish tank that is in his bedroom. I'm sure that this fish tank, it is still there. So after performing this ritual on us, you will then take that fish, and this fish, it will enter into your private parts as if it will be making love to you. And after that, then the fish will come out of your private parts and you will collect that fish. Then you will place it back into that fish tank that always stayed in his bedroom. And that is how my father was making his money. As for my mother and my mother's sister's wife, like those women that were married to my father, they really used to love each other. And the things that used to happen at our house when we were growing up, they were really weird. Like my mother and my father's wives, they all took a bath at the same time. They would go into the shower, my brother, at the same time. Then they will start to bath. So I don't understand, like, when my mother and my father's wives, when they will be taking a bath, if they were making love to each other or what was happening, I do not even understand. But I know that these were the rituals as well that my father forced my mother and his other wives to perform. And when I look at my sisters, I feel really lucky, because as for my sisters, some of them, they have grown old. They have never been married. They have never been able to give birth because our father sacrificed our wombs. But as for me, I feel as if God favored me, because at the time when I started dating, my father never expected that I had already started sleeping around. So when I fell pregnant, this came as a surprise to my father, and I only have one child. With time, my brother, me and my husband, we have tried to visit so many different prophets and pastors, but like I told you, whenever I mention my surname, or whenever the prophet that will be assisting us senses that I belong to such a family, then that prophet will just start to give us useless prophecies that you will see that this person is just wasting your time. My father, he once bought this other bus. So this bus, it used to come to South Africa, but this bus, it was on the road for a very short period of time. And me and my other sister, who is my father's accountant, we used to have this conversation where I will be asking her where this bus went to, because I thought that maybe my father had sold this bus, because we just heard that my father had bought this bus that was on the road. It was doing cross-border, going with people to South Africa and returning back. Then this bus just disappeared. And when I spoke with my sister, just wanting to confirm if this bus was still in our father's company, but she then said, no, I have been asking myself the same question. I said, maybe our father sold this bus to someone else. And she laughed and she said, I am like his accountant. I have actually looked at the books. There is no sign that our father sold this bus. And I know that this bus, it is somewhere and it is being used for rituals. I don't know what kind of rituals it is being used for. And the other thing that disturbed me this year, my brother, is that my father, since he is a bishop at the church where we go to, so my father, what he did this year is that he then booked my father, what he did is that this year during Easter, when people were going for the Easter conference, he then hired a lot of buses. And after he had hired these buses, what he did is that the people that were like in a single bus, all of them, he made sure that along the way, when they would want something to eat, then they would have enough money so that they can go and buy some fast food. You can just imagine that a single bus, maybe it will be having more than 90 people. So you can just imagine how much my father spent during this Easter just donating these buses to all the people that went to the Easter conference that happened like in the village where our church started. They respect my father so much because he is a bishop and because he is wealthy. People still think that maybe he uses his political connections, but I know that my father, he went broke a very long time ago. When the deals stopped coming to him, that was when he went broke. As for now, he is just getting this money that just fall on his roof. Then he collects that money and he goes with it into his bedroom. I know for a fact that my father is a ritualist. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by our dear sister. Strange things do happen in this world. Our dear sister was saying that my father pretends as if he runs a lot of these businesses that belongs to some political people who are high up there, but it is just a front. My father, he gets his money from Norway. Just imagine you visit this man, then you see a plastic bag full of money falling on top of the roof. Hey, what will you do? Strange things do happen in this world, but what a sad story. Your father forcing an egg into your private part when you are like on your first period. Just imagine the damage that it will do to you.